How are you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome to our Breakthrough RE weekly Wednesday webinar. So happy to see so many of you here today. So if you can hear me, can you just type "I hear you" in the chat? That would be fabulous. Awesome. Hey, thanks, Kelly. You can hear me great. Hi, Alina. How are you doing? Look at all these great people. Oh my gosh. Hi, Leslie. Good to see you. Hey, Aaron. Good to see you. Diana. Randy, lots of you amazing people out there today. So good. So couple things. As usual, we have the extraordinary, incomparable, wonderful Robin Keeley, who's our Director of Operations. Say hi, Robin.
Hi, everyone.
Yay. So she's going to be watching our chat. She will interject in if there's some things doing, because we've got such a good one for you today. I am so excited. By the way, for those of you guys who actually don't know who I am, let me share this with you. I know we've got a few new people in the group right now. So exciting. I love it. So my name is Kole Finley, and I have been a realtor since 2009. I actually started managing real estate firms in 2012. I am a former Keller Williams CEO and team leader. I'm a neurolinguistic programming practitioner, an instructional designer. I was actually Rookie of the Year my first year in real estate. I sold 36 transactions my first year. So you can probably imagine I'm quite the open house fan. And that was in a down market. So, hey. And I've have over 20 years experience as a course creator, a coach, and a consultant. Oh my gosh, guys, I got to tell you, there is the most wonderful person that is with us today. And many of you know him because he is on our training team. He's our favorite loan officer, Jeff Quincey. Jeff has built a successful mortgage business over the last 19 years by taking an educative approach with his clients and referral partners. His entire mission is to show clients how they can create generational wealth through real estate and their prospective financing options. Although this approach takes more time in educating and explaining options, it has proven to create lifelong clients and establishes him as a mortgage professional and not just an order taker. Did I get that right, Jeff?
Spot on, Kole. Happy to be here yet again today. I'm excited. I'm like coming out of my chair excited.
You are like, I was talking to you this morning and it's like, whew, let's get her going. Okay. Fill us in. What are we talking about today?
Absolutely. So getting people off the fence and signing on the dotted line, right? Exactly what you labeled this class today. And it's the conversation I'm having with every single real estate agent and every prospective client, right? The number one objection we're hearing. But before we go into that, and I promise you guys, my number one goal is always deliver value. If I'm just here talking and not delivering value, I'm not doing my job. And but before we do that, I think it's important to set kind of a foundation, if you will. And I'm going to use a story I just heard yesterday in our branch. A loan officer this weekend went to 7 open houses. And she said, Jeff, it was like walking into funerals at every one. And Kole, I know you have this in your 12-week breakthrough program. One of the modules is about mindset. Okay. So as we go through this information, I want you to be very cognizant of your mindset, not just here today, but out in the public as you're trying to gain clients and win those clients over. Is how are you showing up for your clients right now and your referral partners and your sphere of influence that can refer you? Because if a loan officer is walking in and going, oh my gosh, it was doom and gloom, what is every person walking into that open house thinking, right? They're going to buy whatever you're selling. And if you're selling fear and doom and gloom, they're absolutely buying it. So I just want to set that foundation. It's the one. I'm big on controllables. I've been doing a video series on my Facebook page every Monday about controlling the controllables, work ethic, attitude. And right now, I think that's a huge thing that people need from us. Our job is to get people excited about real estate again, regardless of what's going on around us.
Yep.
So just wanted to set the foundation.
I'm so glad you did that, Jeff. Just because here's the thing is that when we are professionals and when we don't get all messed up in the hype, especially on the national news and everything is doom and gloom, you're right. We have the ability to change lives with people. It's not just about us selling a house, but it's really getting people into that thing that they're longing for. And it takes us really, really watching our mindset, watching our conversations. And so I'm so glad that you're actually having this conversation with us today, because I got to tell you, with my coaching clients right now, this topic today, moving the fence sitters off the fence, is like their number one topic. So yeah, it's hugely important, isn't it?
It's the number one conversation we're having. It's the number one objection I know you guys are getting. And I'm going to argue, if you're not getting this objection, I'm going to challenge you to talk to more people. Because if you're not getting it, you're not just simply not talking to enough people, because it's the number one thing. So let's kind of get into that. What is that number one objection right now? Anybody listening that has heard, I want to wait till next year when rates come down. That's the objection. And
Type I've heard that. Type I've heard that in the comments. If yep, see, Iris says that's it. Leslie's saying yep, absolutely, that's it. Yeah,
Every
Trina,
day.
Alina, everybody's seeing it. Absolutely, every day.
Every day. And here's the thing, guys, if we don't have a confident, factual-based response to that, confident being most important, but we also have to back it up with facts. If we don't do that, that conversation instantly veers to argument. Once you get into argument, you're never winning. In fact, you might even lose that client if next year really is their best option, because you tick them off, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not listening to them. You're not hearing what they're saying. So I wanted to just kind of start with my opinion on the 3 steps to sales, right? Whether it's real estate or any other sales business. Go ahead, Kole.
Real quickly. Hey guys, in the chat, do me a favor. Make sure that everybody can see it. Make sure you're posting to everybody rather than to host and panelists, so everybody can get it. Kelly, you had a really great comment and want everybody to hear it. She says, everyone is waiting for the market to crash. How can we assure them this is not going to happen? So we will get to that question, Kelly. Thank you for doing that. Let's just do everyone. Sorry to interrupt your flow there, Jeff. Go for it.
You're good. And Kelly, we're going to address that. We're going to address that, because if you try without facts, right, a lot of speculation, we're going to get into this deeper towards the end. But if you address that without facts, and there is no way to factually guarantee that a crash isn't happening, it's an argument, and now it's your opinion. We'll dive into that a little bit more here as we proceed. So sales, no matter what industry you're in, I believe there's 3 steps to sales. When you generate that conversation, whatever their response is, the first thing you need to do is validate their feelings. Now, validating their feelings is not saying, yes, you're right, but we have to dig deeper. So step 2 is asking questions to get them to give us what their feelings are so we can better understand it. And now step 3 is we can respond using their own words, their own feelings. We can provide them with factual data so that the conversation doesn't go into argument, but rather goes into helping them understand, right? People don't work in our line of business, mortgages and real estate, 24/7 like we do. So they have a perception that to them is reality. And if we don't ask questions and instead we combat it with statements that may not be factually backed, all that's going to do is have them stand stronger in their stance and fight back with you. And we don't want that. We want to engage in conversation and have open dialogue around why they think the way they do. And maybe we can bring some data and some info to the conversation that will help them see it from a different perspective, which then in turn changes their reality. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So those are really the first, 3 steps. And it starts with a question of why. When clients call me, they go through the application process. We let them know they're qualified. We go over payment. We go over some of the creative financing we can do, like seller funded 2-1 buy downs, which, by the way, that is a topic we covered last month. I think Robin has the link. I highly recommend you go back and watch it. I think it was about 30 minutes or so. I break down the 2-1 as benefits for both buyer and seller on that.
By the way, Jeff, Robin just put that link into the chat, guys. That is in one of the most popular videos that we've had on Breakthrough RE, and it is powerful. You will get so much out of this. You got to watch that video. So make sure that you grab that out of the chat and watch that as well. Hugely important. Okay, back to you, Jeff.
No, you're good. I like this. I like this back and forth. It helps. So if we understand that those are the 3 steps we need to take in every conversation, what you're going to see is that your conversations with clients are going to start shifting more positive. And it goes back to also mindset and how you're approaching the industry in those conversations. All of a sudden, instead of fighting and all this negative headbutting, you're going to see an open dialogue and people being more open to receiving your point of view. Kind of goes with what Kelly asked is, how do we get them to understand there's no crash coming? Well, can we promise them there's no crash? Can we promise that there is a crash? Okay, so if we combat that person with, hey, there's going to be no crash, and maybe some factual, some opinion, some speculation, they're going to combat that with their lack of facts and their opinion, and nobody's going to budge from their position. Now, in my market here in Phoenix, I can tell you the numbers lean towards probably a 90 to 95% chance there will be no crash. It will be more of a small market correction. But the truth is there's going to be some parts of the country that absolutely go through their definition of a crash, right? So it's very geographically sensitive as to who's right or wrong. And the problem is nobody can be right or wrong until it happens or doesn't happen.
Right.
So let's be mindful of how we're approaching those conversations. Another topic I talked about a couple months ago, at the time, it was an experience I had with a client who emailed me and said, Jeff, maybe we should do an ARM, or maybe we should wait until next year because rates are at an all-time high. I could have responded very combative to that email and said, you're out of your mind. When I got in the business 20 years ago, rates were at 7%. And back then, at that time, rates were at about 6.5%. And I would have been very factually right. And that would have been met with some animosity. What I kind of just took a step back and realized is that this client was in his young 30s. His perspective is that's the highest rates have ever been in his lifetime as an adult. If perspective is reality, he was right. Rates are the highest they've ever been. I just responded and said, I know for you, that's what it feels like. But historically, rates have always been between 6 and 8%. We're on the low end of that right now. Within 5 minutes, I get a response back. Jeff, I just Googled and you're absolutely right. We did get blessed with low rates for the last 12 years. That was abnormal. It does appear that 6 to 8% was normal, right? So it's all about how you respond. If you want to combat that, and you see this all over Facebook right now, well, yeah, rates are not historically high. And what does everybody come back with? Yeah, but house prices are historically high. When rates were at 8%, houses were 200,000, not 500. That's factual. That's fair for a consumer to feel that way. So we have to understand a person's perspective unique to them themselves so that we can respond in the right way and not turn that into an argument. If we're gonna have a conversation for the sake of being right, what's the cost of that? You might be right. The cost is probably that you're losing that client. Is it worth it to be right? Like sometimes it's okay to step back, still position yourself as the expert, but take a step back, put yourself in their shoes. So let's dive into the topic of this objection right now. Should I buy now or should I wait a year? Because it's what everybody is saying.
Absolutely.
And I just listed some pros and cons, right? This gets back factual and let's open dialogue. So if I buy now, and this might not be true for all markets, but it eventually will be over the coming months, there's no competition. You can get the terms you want, possibly the house at a lower price, almost guaranteed to get some level of concessions, maybe even max concessions, paired maybe with a price reduction. You're not having to waive appraisal. You're not having to waive inspection. If you wait, the pro to waiting is that maybe rates come down. But the downside to waiting is, guess what happens? If rates do come down, which they should, and they will, it's a matter of when, but say that the client is right and they want to wait till next year for rates to come down to 5.5% or 4.5%, and they're right, what's going to happen? In every market, there's probably 10,000 buyers right now sitting on the sidelines waiting. So you're going to be back to competition, increased prices. Congratulations, you got your lower rate, but the payment savings was instantly eaten up with the competition raising those home prices. You're maybe even getting back in some markets to having to waive an appraisal. I don't think you're going to get to the point where you're going to be competing with 30 offers like we saw 2 years ago, but you're probably going to be competing with 4 or 5 people. Why? When you can buy right now with no competition. So when a client comes to me, and Kole and I are going to role play here in a little bit. When a client comes to me and says, why, or I want to wait till next year. we can assume that it's for lower rates, but what if it's a personal reason? Maybe they have a lease coming due. So my first question is, tell me more. Why?
Mhm.
Right? I ask questions that I know the answer to,
Mhm.
right? It's going to be one of those two things, lease
Absolutely.
or interest rates. Why? Tell me more about that. Why do you want to wait till next year? Well, because rates are going to be lower. Okay. If that's your only reason for waiting, what if we could give you that lower rate today? Would you be interested in hearing that? Right? I'm responding with a question. Would you
Mhm.
be interested in hearing that? What client is going to respond to you? Now, on the agent side, your conversation is, what if I could put you in contact with my lender and he could show you a way to get that rate today without having to wait? And here's why I want you to do that. Because if you have this conversation and you realize you can get today what you're going to wait for next year, here's the benefits. There's going to be no competition right now. The market's giving seller concessions. We can pretty much get the terms you want because sellers are motivated. And maybe we have to look at houses that have only been sitting on the market for 30 plus days. We don't look at the brand new ones that just went on the market 24 hours ago. We're not going to have to waive appraisal. We're not going to have to waive inspection, things that protect you as a buyer to make sure the house you're buying is right for you. How does that sound? Is that probably a positive outcome and response that you're going to receive?
You bet. You bet.
Right? Versus headbutting. Why would you want to do that? Right. And you start going into all this stuff. And here's the thing, there's one reason why that I have been sold, right? I'm a big proponent that in every conversation, somebody is sold. There's one conversation I've had in the last week where the buyer sold me on waiting. And their reason was the 2-1 buy down is what gives them that rate that they're hoping for next year. In their scenario, even though they were highly qualified, they could go higher than they wanted to on payment. They had a very specific payment. The 2-1 buy down was going to bring the payment under that, but they did not feel comfortable with the full payment that would be there in 3 years if rates don't come down. And I conceded. And I said, look, we're not in the business of putting people in homes that they're scared they might not make the payment. Because you're right. I can't guarantee that rates are absolutely coming down. The premise of a 2-1 buy down is that you can afford that full payment today, but we're going to give you some savings over the next 24 months in hopes of being able to refinance you out of that into a permanently lower rate. But if you're not comfortable with that higher payment, let's not do it. And that's some of the negative feedback you're getting from agents as well as loan officers on Facebook. We're seeing it a lot is, well, what if rates don't come down? Well, if you're a loan officer selling the features and making sure that the client is comfortable with that higher payment, then you're setting them up for success and giving them the best opportunity today. And then we follow that, all the pros of now. No competition, no appraisal waiver, no inspection waiver. And of course, not all of these are 100% true in every market. But I think as time goes on, if you aren't experiencing this in your market right now, you're going to, right? You're just lagging behind the rest of the nation. So that's something we have to have a conversation about. Is there a valid reason for you to wait? And if they have a valid reason, be willing to be sold on that. Because if you push and push and push, you're going to lose that client completely no matter when they buy. Right. So it goes back to active listening and understanding why somebody, right? That's why we ask the question, so we can understand. If we understand their philosophy and their reason for it after they've been presented the facts, we can sit back and rest on our morals knowing we did the right thing by that client.
Absolutely. Integrity.
Yeah.
Integrity. Hey, Jeff, there's a question here from Randy. Hey, Randy, make sure you're putting that into everyone, but I'm going to go ahead and read it out. To host and panelists. But Randy says, what if their reply to when you say, what if you can get your rate you want now? They said, what would that rate be?
My reply is going to be a question. What rate did you think you were going to get a year from now? See, people... Have you ever been to a department store and you walked in, and Cole, you're the one on the screen right now. So you walk into Nordstrom's, you're there specifically to buy a purse, and you walk in and the salesperson walks up and says, can I help you with anything, ma'am? And what's your response?
No, I'm just looking.
I'm just looking. And then you go look, somebody else comes up, ma'am, can I help you with anything? No, I'm just looking. Right. 5 minutes later, you find the perfect purse and you go buy it. And they're like, It's our conditioned response to anything sales related. So when somebody responds right now in this market, it's very easy for them to be like, all I've heard about is high rates. So I'm waiting until next year when rates are lower, but they don't even know what that lower rate is. Are they waiting for 4.5? Are they waiting for 5? Are they waiting for 5.5? So Randy, my response to that would be, before you even get there, part of that why are you waiting till next year? Oh, I'm waiting for lower rates. One more question. And what rate would that be that would get you to buy a house now? They probably don't even know what the payment savings is on this fictitious rate they're waiting for. But you'll catch, I don't know, like rates are in the 7s. If we get down to 5, 5.5, perfect. My loan officer has a way to make that happen for you where it won't cost you any money to do. Right? Because one thing, if people think it's going to cost them money, but what if there's a way we could show you to get that same rate today without it costing you anything? Then it just comes down to supplying the data, the factual data and the numbers, and allowing them to see if that works for their scenario and their budget. Some will, some won't. Who cares who's next? I live by that. Like my job is just to deliver the data.
Absolutely. Okay. So here's what we're talking about, guys. We're really talking about the Socratic method, Socrates. This goes way, way back, right? Whenever you are with a client, your job is to ask questions. It's not necessarily to provide information. Until you've exhausted all their questions, that's what you want to make sure that you've done. I had a really fascinating conversation, Jeff, with one of my clients yesterday, and we were really talking about the power of questions and making sure, especially if we're talking about someone's why, and we can come back to that in just a second. But the biggest thing to understand, guys, is that you don't have enough information if you're simply trying to answer a question because you think that's what they want the response to. So when you become expert, and this is what I know that we always teach our clients to do, when you become expert at really asking questions, and by the way, there's always one question you're going to ask after the first question. And the second question is, and what else? It's called the awe question, AWE. And what else? And what else? And what else? So you're going to ask that first question, and then you're going to ask the awe question, and then you're going to ask it again. And then you're going to ask it again until you get all the way down to what they are really wanting answers to. You say, so here's what I hear you saying. Here's what I hear you saying. This is important. This is important. This is important. This is important. Now you can either answer the question or guide them to a resource or a person, or certainly someone like Jeff who can help them answer those questions. Become an expert question asker. The very best people, agents in this business, are people who know how to ask great questions.
Yeah, it goes in line with the idea of getting somebody's why. When you ask somebody, why do you do real estate? Why do you do mortgages? Why do you want to buy a house? The first answer is always going to be surface level. Yeah. And to Cole's point, when you ask those questions, the surface level, well, rates are high. I'm waiting for rates to come down. Where'd they get that from? They got that from the national media pounding it all day long. They got it from their coworkers who have been saying, oh, I'm not buying a house at these rates. Are like, that's stupid, right? People who don't even own real estate are infiltrating their mind and they're making decisions off that. So it's a surface level why. Well, why do you want rates to be lower? Well, I want to be able to afford the payment. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So the payment and how it affects your budget's important to you. Well, that's always the case. I don't care if rates are at 3% or 10%. We always need to make sure the payment's within their budget. So just know that we as professionals would never put you into a house with a payment over your budget. In fact, and I have one right here. I got personal information on it. So I'll fold that part. But my question on this little page, it's not going to come up. Yep. My last two questions on here is, what is your price range that you've been looking at online or with your agent? And the very next question is, what is your comfortable payment? There you just go. Qualified somebody last night at 7 o'clock at night who could have gone up to 600,000 or 700,000, but their comfortable payment puts them at 300,000. Right. If I don't ask that question, I'm going to get all excited. Hey, you can qualify for 600. They're going to push back. I don't want a $600,000 house. I don't want the payment that comes with that.
Sure.
Instead, because of my upfront question the day before, I was able to approach them with, hey, great news. You want your budget to be 300 to 330. Your payment's going to be right inside that comfort zone at both of those ranges. And now they're excited to go out and look, like today, first thing this morning. Completely different response, right? So asking those questions and digging deep into why those are concerns is going to help you. When I say use their words against them, I'm not saying in a malicious way. But if somebody says, I need the payment to be lower, it's really easy to use their words and be like, perfect. If I can show you that lower payment inside your budget, or the loan officer can, would you be interested? That's all you're looking for. Is would you be interested for that conversation? Can you see how that 100% changes the dialogue you're having with these people in your database and these clients?
Yep.
And the difference between pushing them away and bringing them in. This client last night, their response, and I'm not trying to brag on myself, it's really just to drive home the point. Their response, I could hear the smiles on their face through the phone. And they were so excited, and they were so scared they weren't going to be qualified. They had 800 credit scores. They could have went to 600. They only need 300. And they're like, Jeff, you came highly recommended, but we weren't sure. We're super nervous. We've never bought a house, right? They left going, this guy has my best interest at heart. And that's what we want to build with clients. So the last thing, and Kole, we were talking about this before we went live, is we need to understand in the sales process, people, when they go look at houses, let's just break it down to looking at houses. They go in and they make a decision on that house emotionally. We need to understand that they walk back in their door at home that night, and they then make the decision based on logic. So they'll make the decision initially based on emotion, and they'll justify it logically. Okay, so you can get them all excited about that house, but if I then call them and say, hey, I ran the payment numbers on that, and I know you wanted a payment of $2,000, but it's $2,200, but you love the house, you're excited, let's start selling you on a $200 higher payment. Right. No. They can't logically justify that. We just did them a disservice, right? So we have to understand that that's what they're doing. It's kind of like buyer's remorse. We go buy a car, we pull in the driveway, and then we go, God, I love the car, but I don't like the payment. What did I do? And we have to understand that real estate clients think the same way. The difference is the reason why the car salesman pushes you into the car is so you can have the thought after you signed on the dotted line. With real estate, they can love the house, tell you, hey, drop the contract, send it over to me on DocuSign, and then all of a sudden you don't hear from them. And you're following up in the morning, hey, when are you signing that offer? They got home and they couldn't logically justify that purchase. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about the concept of emotion versus logic. Okay. I had a really interesting conversation with one of our clients yesterday, and she was under the impression that what she really needed to do with her people was always go straight to logic. Now, this is a marriage between logic and emotion. So let's start off with the fact that right now, if there's fear in the market and you've got fence sitters, that's a story that they're telling themselves. That's something to really understand if they don't have all of the facts. So everything that Jeff is telling you is true. But let's not you guys get caught up in that story. When we are with a client, so let's say it's seller or buyer, by the way. Okay. So let's say that we have someone who is really, they've told you before that they want to buy a house. Okay. And then they get into the story in their head. The thing to understand is take them back to why they want to move in the first place. And it's not about the square footage. It's not about the number of bedrooms and bathrooms. It's not about them. It's about what that home will make them feel like. When I was talking to this client, she said that she had someone she was talking to, and when she had this conversation, the people were saying, she asked the question, well, what is going on right now? What are you feeling right now? And the person said, well, I feel trapped. Well, okay. And what else? She asked the question. And what else? And they were feeling like there's no pride of ownership in the neighborhood. and the kids are really growing up and there's just no space and the organization is off. And then so she asked the question, well, what do you want to feel? What do you want to feel? And then the client said, you know what? I want to feel freedom. I want to feel like I'm not afraid to clean my toilet because there's such pride of ownership in my house. I want to feel like all of us can breathe and share this thing. People will start moving. Motivation starts with emotion. Then your job becomes, we get them in. Now we go, how can we help this person really hit that goal? What do we do? If their goal of this feeling, of this emotion, that's now when you partner and you understand and you're working with Jeff and you're saying, okay, here's how we can actually make this happen for you in your world. Clear all the cobwebs out, clear all of the fake news that's in their head right now, or the stuff that is really murky because they're making decisions that actually they're only emotional, negative emotion based. Get them back to the positive emotion, then have a really great conversation with them about the facts that Jeff is telling you about. What do you think about that idea, Jeff?
Oh, I love it. And I talk about this often. When you get surface level why only, okay, and they sound good. The client's going to sell you on that all day. I'm done paying rent. It's 100% interest. Which they don't go that part, right? That's on our side that we say it's 100% interest.
Right.
I'm done throwing money away on rent. I need 3 bedrooms. I'm living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I need 3 bedrooms. These are all surface level things. You brought that up as examples. Mm-hmm. So what happens is they find the house, the payment where it needs to be. Okay, we're not trying to push them in on any aspect of the transaction. Right. It fits everything they've told us on surface level why. And all of a sudden, like most people, especially first-time home buyers, they get cold feet. They get scared. Right now, they can move every year. Yeah, the rents are out of their control. And you call them and say, well, why are you getting cold feet? It has the 3 bedrooms you want it. You won't be throwing money away at rent. Here's the downside to surface level why. Their response to you is going to be, I thought about it, and renting's just better. And how do you come back from that? Right? You can start showing all the reasons why, but they've already sold themselves on rent is better. But you needed the 3 bedroom. Nah, my 2 children for the next 2 years, they can still share that 1 bedroom. We don't really need 3 bedrooms. That's the problem. That's the biggest piece. That's the problem with surface level why, is they'll always beat you on the response to that. If you have the deep level and you're using that back, well, I need it because my kids are getting into teenage. It's a boy and a girl. They have to have separate rooms. And as we grow, I understand, like I've been reading books, I understand that owning a house has, such a much greater chance that my kids will go to college. These stats that you can find, right? Say a buyer finds this though, and they're giving you all this stuff on day one. And when they get the cold feet, imagine being able to take their words and give it back to them. But remember, you want your kids to have separate rooms. You already looked at the stat that your kids are going to be more likely to not only go to college, but graduate college because you're a homeowner. All these things that they have said themselves, not you, because everything when I was listening to you, Kole, it brought up, and I actually wrote it down and scribbled circles around it. When we get into those difficult conversations, like we talked about waiting a year, or I got scared, I got cold feet, is anything that we use to combat that is not their own reasoning is instantly going to take that client to, you're just pushing me to get your commission. Right. And I circled this. And the second that the client's mind goes there, good luck ever on doing that. Right. And I got a good buddy of mine I've worked with. He's a real estate agent. We worked for over 15 years. And we talk about this all the time, is like, we give good, valuable information trying to help people. But it's so hard because they know that both sides are commission based. It's so hard to get a client to understand and feel that you genuinely want them to win. And that's where you're coming from. It has nothing to do with the commission, right? So one thing I use, and you guys can take this or tailor it to what works with your personality and your business. Last night's client, and I say this to every client, they had a question around, yeah, I'm not sure, what are the downsides to the 2-1 buy down? And I explained, like, worst case scenario, this is what could happen. I said, look, we just want you to come home from a long day at work and pull in the driveway and be frustrated with your day at work. but happy you're a homeowner. Me and your agent do not want you pulling into the driveway, cussing about the check you're about to write for the house you don't like. What was I doing there? I was letting them know, like, I don't care if you buy this month, 1 year from now, or 2 years from now, but remember back to my bio, my value proposition is that I'm going to take an educative approach to the mortgage process and help them build generational wealth.
Absolutely.
Waiting a year or two is prolonging generational wealth.
Absolutely.
Right? So I can tie that back in. They realize it's genuine. Now they're excited to go find a house because they know they have a team that is not about commissions. It's about taking care of them.
You know, I learned this a while ago. So, and I started sharing this with clients during their consultations. This would either be a listing presentation or a buyer consultation. And here's what I've said to them, and it has made the world of difference with a client. I'll always say this. I'll say, buying or selling a home is one of the most emotional things you will do in your life other than the birth of a child. When you first start in, you're going to be so excited because you found that house and it's so great. It's so great. And then you're going to start thinking, well, can we do it? Can we not do it? And then you go, well, yeah, we're really excited about it. And then maybe you make an offer and then they make a counter offer and it's not exactly what you want. And you're going to ride this roller coaster of emotion. And at some point during this process, you are going to have some type of a breakdown. I'm telling you right now, every single solitary client I've had does. By the way, that is true. Every single client does. So when that happens, I want you to understand something. You buy a house maybe every 5 to 10 to 20 years. I do it every day. I got your back. So I'm going to remind you when that happens. I want you to call me and I want you to say, hey, Kole, I think I'm having my breakdown right now. And I'm going to say, good, awesome, because we're almost there. And I'm going to be there for you. And I'm going to remind you of this conversation because that's normal. Everybody is normal. And by the way, I want you to hear the word I just used, guys. It's normal. When we normalize people, it takes the pressure off of them and they can relax. Now, you layer in what Jeff just said, and he's talking about the ethics of what we do and really the fiduciary responsibility we have with our clients. And you're creating one heck of a win-win situation.
You're really putting yourself up on a pedestal without doing that, without doing the look at me, right? So very important, in your business, and you just brought up, wasn't planning on talking about this topic, but Kole, you just brought this up and it made me think is like expectations, right? I have a very defined process that my clients go through in the loan. And if we are off on that, I just did a corporate, Fairway has 10,000 employees. I just did a corporate live interview. I'm little nobody out here in Phoenix. And I was talking about our process, right? And how my team, which consists of my wife is our assistant, and then I have a loan partner, Randy. And we had a client a couple of weeks ago where, in my opinion, we did not deliver a world-class experience, which is what I tell a client on every first call is, hey, at the end, my incentive is we want to deliver a world-class experience so that you will leave us a 5-star Google review. Okay, That's my whole mission, to do a good job. And then you'll appreciate the process. And it wasn't that we delivered a bad experience, but we didn't deliver world-class. It was somewhere in the middle. And I kind of came down on my team. I'm hard to work for. And I just said, guys, these are the expectations we set. Like, we can't miss this mark. So I encourage you as real estate agents, what is your process? What is your client going to experience to where it's like the franchise model? You walk into McDonald's, you expect the menu to be the same at every one. Your clients, when they refer you, they want their friends to have the exact same experience. So this was a completely different nugget and topic than what we intended to talk about today, but I think it's very important. What is your defined process so that you can properly set expectations for your clients, that everybody gets the same level of experience, which goes in line with what Kole's saying. If you set that up and they know it's coming, right? I tell people, here's some of the pitfalls. This is even my line of the business, but you're going to get an inspection report. Every house I've bought has been 40 pages long. Don't freak out, right? Your agent will talk you through it. If you set that up, when that happens, like, Jeff told me about this. All right, let's talk. Let's go through. right? Just as an example. So that's kind of everything I had on topic today. Cole, do you have anything to add, or do you want to do a quick role play?
Let's do a quick role play. Let's go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll be the client. I'll just be the loan officer. I could be the agent too. But really the conversation's the same from both sides. So
yeah. Okay.
So Cole, you're looking to buy a house?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Kind of nervous about it though.
What's making you nervous?
Well, like I know, like my mom just bought a house and she got like 2.75% interest rates. And like, they've been just going through the roof. I was just hearing on the news, it's going to be like 10% this year. And I think that I just think I have to wait until these interest rates come down.
Well, that was a fun time when we were selling loans like your mom had at 2.75. And I understand the concern that you have with higher interest rates. What scares you about that?
Well, I don't think I'm going to be able to afford much of a house if it's like that. I mean, I've heard people saying that they're priced out of the market, and I just feel like maybe I just need to stay in my apartment for a while before I purchase a house.
So that's information that you received from friends, coworkers that you feel like maybe they're saying that they're priced out, but have you actually ran an application with a loan officer to see if you truly are priced out?
No, I just didn't want to waste anybody's time.
Gotcha. So what if we were able to run some numbers, no obligation to you, right? No commitment, but what if we were able to just run some numbers so that you can have an educated opportunity to make a decision for you and your family on buying a house? And what I mean by that is just seeing where your numbers are at today. Now, you may find that you're absolutely right, and those payments may be way higher than where your budget allows, and perfect. We'll work with you. We'll kind of game plan around what we can do. Or you might be pleasantly surprised, and there might be a way that we can make that payment fall within where your budget's at. And we all know that buying real estate right now is always a good idea from a wealth building standpoint. So if there's an opportunity there, I'd hate to see you waste out on any time in the market. Is that something that you would be open to looking at?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been basically told that it's going to be more expensive than like my rent right now, which they just raised on me. So, you know, that was kind of harsh. But I mean, if we can get into a house, I'm sick of paying, you know, my landlord's, you know, kids' college fund. So that would be great.
Building your landlord's wealth.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, one thing I'll tell you about how I work, just from an ethics standpoint, is I'm just here to run the numbers for you and educate you on what your options are, and then let you take that information and make a decision. So there's no commitment. You don't have to be worried that I'm going to push you into a loan and I'm going to get you in a realtor's car and go out and buy a house today, right? But I feel like it's in everybody's best interest to have a compass of where they're at today so that they can make changes. And if one of the concerns is higher interest rates, let's talk about that and see whether or not some creative financing, which in this market right now can be funded by the seller. We're seeing sellers left and right fund some creative financing that will make that payment lower for you. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to make that payment fall in line with where you want, but we won't know until we look, right?
Okay.
So, guys, that's just very basic. You would just change that conversation to, you're not the finance person, but what if your loan officer could have this conversation with you? That's the only thing you're changing to it, right? Is just really understanding. Her concern is a lot of what she's believed from people around her. She thinks her payment might be higher than rent. You know how many people we put into mortgages this year where their payment is absolutely cheaper than rent? And oh, by the way, their rent's going to increase again next year. Right? So that's a talking point, right? Are you concerned? Did your rent go up in the last 2 years? Oh, you're going to get them talking for 20 minutes. Right? Cole, you wouldn't believe it. My rent has doubled in the last 2 years, and next year is probably going to go up again. And you're like, perfect. There's something to talk about. There's a concern there.
There you go. I love that.
Active listening based on what they are saying is happening in their lives. And then it has to be a very easy, like, hey, me and my team, my loan officer, we're just here to guide you through and give you information. Because I'd hate for you to make a decision today that's concrete that you can't undo until next year, that costs you and your family some wealth building.
Love it. This has been so powerful, Jeff. I just always love when we get to bring you on and really talk about this stuff. Okay, guys. Hey, guess what? We have a free gift for you guys today because you're here. I'm so excited about it. Can I show it to him, Jeff?
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
So here's what you guys get. All right. If you guys have been asking, okay, how do I show my clients the purchasing power? So looky-loo at this. So this is a purchasing power graph. And because you are on the call today, we are going to actually customize this for you based on whatever purchase price you have. So you're going to notice on here, guys, you'll see the mortgage interest rate on the left-hand side there, and across the top, you're going to see the purchase price. And as you go through this, you can see the changes based on the interest rate and based on the purchase price. So this one was for a standard of 450, right? I've got another one here for 250. I even have another one here at 750. So you guys just tell us what you are really interested in. And here's what's going to happen. We're going to send you a text message after today, after our session here. Send you a text message. All you have to do is respond back saying what price point you want us to go ahead and run that for. What do you think? Would that be helpful, guys?
Heck yes. And can I just add, Cole? Can I
Yeah.
just add to this? So say rates today, and I haven't looked because I've been on Zooms all morning, but I know the bond market, if you saw the rate update this morning, I posted, rates definitely opened up higher, but let's just go at 7.25 on a $750,000 house, payment of 5116. And you're showing down to 6.5, and that could be a potential permanent buy down that a seller gives 2%, probably gets you from 7.25 to 6.5. What if instead we use the 2% towards a 2-1 buy down and we get that rate down to 5.25, right? Instead of saving $600 or saving almost $1,000 a month, funded by the seller, money left over in that escrow account from the seller funded 2-1 buy down is sitting there for their, as a principal reduction for their refi when the rates do come back down, or they simply just rates never come back down, worst case scenario. And they save money over the first 2 years and go back right to where they would have been.
Love it.
I mean, it's a no-brainer. This is the factual data we're talking about. This is what clients need to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Robin, do me a favor. Go ahead and post that YouTube link for Jeff's previous, his 2-1 buy down video. It is so good, guys. You do not want to miss that. Go back, watch that. Like I said, it's one of the most our most powerful videos that we have had, most definitely. So,
and before you wrap it up, Cole, I put my contact information in the chat. Guys, I've done this for 19 years, how I've built a successful business. Even if I'm not licensed in your state, I'm here to help. Call me, have a conversation. I love talking to clients about the mindset conversations that we're having with realtors that we're having with clients. So reach out to me. I have a busy schedule. Shoot me an email, shoot me a text at my phone number. We'll get you on the calendar, have a quick little 30-minute powwow, and hopefully just kind of, look, I'm sure Cole talks about this. We're on a track and it might not be where we want. And a lot of times it's a 1-degree shift. We don't need to make a 180-degree shift. We just need to change course 1 degree. And that's what these value add items that we're providing. And that's what we're hoping to do.
Absolutely. Hey, Chuck, if you've got a question, go ahead and put it in the chat for us. Jeff, you are so amazing. You know, guys, this is why Jeff is part of our education team. He's just extraordinary. And I always love the time that you pour into our people. Jeff, thank you so much. And what
Hey, Jeff, are you licensed in Washington?
Yes, we are as a branch licensed in Washington. We're licensed right now in 23 states. If I am not in a state, I can go get there. And in the meantime, I can refer those clients out. Fairway is a nationwide company. We find a top rated branch manager who's producing to refer those clients to while we're waiting to get our license. So
perfect.
Don't even worry about, hey, what states are you licensed in? Because either I can take care of you or I'll connect you with a top loan officer that will operate just like me.
Great.
California,
love
yes.
California, yes. How cool is that? I love it. Okay, guys. So love having Jeff here. So here's some things. I know a lot of you guys are kind of wondering, in this changing market, what's going on with your business? How can you really just move it forward? That kind of thing. So I want to share with you this I do for people every single day. and I do a strategy conversation about your business. Not only do we have a really fantastic Facebook group here that most of you are part of, and if you're not, I'm going to share with you how you can become a part of our Facebook group. And also we have other solutions for you. So if you are really looking for that breakthrough, or you just want to get some eyeballs on what's happening in your business, I am so honored to help you. So all you have to do is go ahead and scan this QR code. So scan the QR code, or you can simply go to my Calendly link to get on my calendar. It's calendly.com/Kole Finley/strategy-session. And I am so happy to sit down with you, and let's see how you can really create a breakthrough in your business. So feel free to do that. And by the way, I've been having some really great conversations with you guys about this. This has been a lot of fun. A lot of you guys, you have learned and you have taught yourself, and you have really just built a great business, and you want to go further. That's one of my favorite conversations to have. So if that's what you're looking for, I'm so happy to do that. And by the way, if you do not belong to our Facebook group, here's what you do. You can simply go to facebook.com/groups/breakthrough-RE. The only thing we ask is that you are an experienced real estate agent. That group is for that, and we'd love to have you part of that. Or if you're part of our group and you know another agent who should be a part of that group, please invite them. We would love to have them here. Love that. Jeff, once again, thank you so much. What a joy it is to spend time with you. And by the way, guys, just let you know, on the third Wednesday of every month, Jeff's back. So Jeff will be back next month with us. So exciting.
It's going to bring value. I was just going through the chat, Kole, real quick. I don't know that we touched on Kelly's topic. I know we are definitely overdue on time. But Kelly, if you're still in here, here's my advice. There is no way to prove that a crash is going to happen or not. If you try to get in conversation with that client and my brother-in-law was one of these, I'm not buying a house till the market crashes. And I just had conversation like, here's the data, here's the data, here's the data. He finally bought a house 2 years ago. He's gained 160,000 in equity, right? Like, who's right? I was, but can I use that? No, it's not about right. That's always going to come at a cost. So my opinion is to get into conversation of what does a crash mean to them? Well, I'm waiting for the values to go down to X. How can you guarantee that? Because guess what? I'm over here and I can't guarantee you that a crash isn't happening.
Right.
So how can you guarantee that's going to happen? The best advice, right? Planting a tree 20 years ago. Second best time today. Same thing with real estate. You should have bought a house 20 years ago, but you didn't. Second best time today. Because real estate's always going to come out ahead.
I love it. I love it. Hey, everybody. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you so much for playing all out. We always love you guys. So remember, we're going to send you a text in just a little bit to all you guys who joined us. All you need to do is text us back the amount that you want your graph to be, and we're going to send it right on over to you. All right, everybody, have a phenomenal rest of your week. Love you. You're awesome, Jeff. We'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.